OneOdio reports their Monitor 60 are audiophile headphones, but at an affordable price. I happen to own the Audio-Technica ATH M50X, this Sennheiser HD650, and the Hi-Fi Man Anandas, all of which come in at different audiophile price tier points. So we will be seeing how much of the complete package you're getting for $89.99. They did send these out for me for review, but that won't bias my opinion in any way. So let's get nerdy. Starting off, I want to clear some things up. First, there is no such thing as the perfect headphone. There are headphones that do just plain suck, but audiophile headphones are supposed to be a different breed with a specific sound signature for a specific purpose. You may or may not like that sound signature or purpose, but that doesn't mean they are bad. This differentiation is important as these have a very neutral sound signature that, depending on your preference, you may or may not like, but they perform excellently for their price point. Second, when comparing different price brackets for headphones, you get into diminishing returns quickly. For example, and randomly pulling percentages, a $150 headphone may get you 70% of the way, and at $500, you may get 90% of the way. At $1,000, perhaps you get 98% of the way there. And at $1,500 and up, you may get 99 to 100% of the way there. These improvements are usually registered as increased clarity, more accurate sounds with a greater texture, improved imaging, and sometimes a larger sound stage. There is a link in the description that goes more into audiophile terminology if you're curious, as I'll be using a lot of that in today's review. Moving on to the build quality / comfort, it comes with 3 cables. The first is a 3 meter, 3.5 millimeter to 6.35 millimeter coiled cable. The second is a 3 meter, 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter straight cable. And last but not least, you have a 1.2 meter, 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter straight cable with microphone for mobile use. All of these feel great and don't produce any microphonics. The port is on the right ear cup. There is a little notch right here that allows you to plug it in a certain way. It snaps in there real nice and doesn't move around, but will pull apart if you give enough pressure. Interestingly enough, they also have an audio share port on the left ear cup. Not really sure why that's included. I don't know how many people would actually utilize that. Maybe that's just because I don't have friends. I don't know. I would be curious on how many people actually use that. So if you're one of those people, let me know in the comment section down below. It also comes with a soft carrying bag that you just put the headset in like that and then zip it up and you're all good to go. It feels nice. It's kind of made out of pleather. The inside is made out of the same material and isn't soft or anything like that, but it'll definitely get the job done and help from scuffing your headset up. It has thick, high-protein memory foam ear pads that prevent your ears from rubbing against the drivers, as you have plenty of room, but they are circular, which some people may or may not like. With them being made of this material, though, they do get hot on your ears if you're susceptible to that type of thing. Both ear cups have a lot of movement to them to fit a wide variety of heads. This is a good and a bad thing. They do not fit down. They do not fit flat on a surface because there is a little bit of a curve there, which is good because that allows it to go onto your head in a comfortable way. And then these move back and forth to get the ideal fit, which does make them very, very comfortable. However, I do wish they were a bit stiffer as they feel loose and uncontrollable, which isn't a big deal, but that also makes them feel cheap and is also just really frustrating when you go to put them on. I was fumbling a little bit there just for like dramatic effect, but like for the most part, every time I go to pick these up, it is one of those that they just flop all over the place and bend and stuff like that. And it can be frustrating. And I also sometimes feel like they're going to break, but they're not because these hinges are actually super, super solid. They also have the ability to do one ear monitoring, which means that you can put them on like so normally, right? So I've got both of them. And then if I flip this guy up, kind of fits on the back there, and then I can still hear what's going on around me. And especially with these being closed back, sometimes this type of thing would be is appreciated. They do fold up just like the Audio-Technica ATH M50Xs. As you can see, in general, the design here is eerily similar. You can definitely tell that they were trying to go for this type of design in this because, I mean, you look at the joints and they're the same. Literally, they look, I mean, just, yeah. You get the picture of me just moving these all around, right, is pretty much the same thing. That's what they're going is to compete against these guys right here. The rest of this headset is made primarily of plastic. As you can see right here, you've got a little bit of metal for the headband itself, but literally everything else on this is plastic, including even this is just fake shiny plastic. But it all feels good. I also don't notice any creaking when it's on my head or any give when I'm pressing on it. So despite it being made of plastic, which most headphones are because that keeps them lightweight and cheap for the manufacturer, I wouldn't worry too much about them breaking. And with them having thicker ear pads, you're not going to wear through these as fast. There isn't a whole lot of padding up here on the headband though, but I noticed that the clamping force, and because these ear pads are so big, that I didn't really even notice any pressure from the top of my head. So overall, what I'm saying is that these are very comfortable and I find the build quality to be excellent. You can easily wear them for long periods of time with or without glasses because I also tested that. Moving on to the sound quality, I tested these on my Go XLR Mini, which feeds into my JDS Adams amp. It does come with Sony's official high-res audio certification, if that's something that you care about. The 50mm dual dynamic drivers support 20Hz to 40,000Hz with 38 ohms, making them easy to drive. It has a very flat EQ response, which lines up to their purpose of being used for recordings, post-production, and broadcasting for producers and or mixers over enjoyment listening. I had a very hard time trying to figure out how to explain the sound on these guys. At first, it appeared the vocals were recessed, but further listening showed me that the vocals and instruments were all on a level playing field, where I'm used to vocals being a bit more upfront. These are incredibly neutral headphones, but I do think there is some muddiness / lack of clarity in the low end and mid bass. Mids are fine, treble is clear, but appears to be slightly rounded off at the top end. This is great for mixing, but not so great for enjoyment listening, as you don't have any color. Sound accuracy is good, but it lacks texture. Directional sound is very good, but is not fully accurate. I was able to tell if something was close, medium distance, or far away without much issue, but it wasn't fully accurate in games. Imaging is solid, especially for the price. I can tell apart the different aspects of a song or game, but those sounds are all very close to each other and do require some focus to separate. I wasn't able to pick up on every nuance and sound, but a good majority of them. Soundstage is small and intimate. With these being closed back, that is to be expected. I did appreciate the sound isolation from them, as it is a moderate amount. There are 4 main categories I rate headphones on. The first is gaming, which does separate into both single player and multiplayer gamings, which are separate tiers, because I think that's important. Media consumption and music being the 4th. I don't actually say this very often, but these do a solid job at all 4 due to their neutral sound signature, as everything is enjoyable to listen to and experience, but you don't get fully lost or emotional due to the lack of color, as these things come across a bit more sterile and surgical, which isn't a negative, but more a preference, which is what makes these great for mixing. Going a bit more in depth, the directional sound is very accurate, allowing me to hear when enemies were close, medium distance, or far away, and in what direction despite the soundstage being small. With the solid imaging, I could pick apart different sounds, but had a hard time hearing footsteps or reloads, as the treble is a bit rounded. Guns, voices, explosions, etc. were all easy to hear, but lacked texture and color, meaning they came across a bit flat, which is kind of the whole point of these, making me enjoy my time with them, but not fall in love with them, as sometimes I want to feel explosions or gunshots and feel the warmth from a voice. That means if you're a bass head, you're not going to like these. If you're extremely treble focused, these won't sparkle enough for you. If you enjoy warm, lush mids, you won't find them here, as again, they are neutral. Comparison. Moving on to the comparison, I'm not going to go very in-depth about comparing these to more expensive audiophile headphones because 1, I think that's kind of ridiculous due to the price point, and 2, because I think we all know that these aren't going to hold up, and they shouldn't given their price point. That's not to say that they're bad by any means. I'm just saying that I don't think that's necessarily fair. I would say these are very comparable to the Audio-Technica ATH M50X. The difference between the two is minimal, and you get about 95% of the sound of the M50X for almost half the price. I found the M50X to have a bit better clarity. Sounds were slightly more accurate with a bit more texture. They were mildly/moderately better at imaging. Directional sound wasn't as good, and it didn't have as good a bass response, and treble comes across as harsher, but sparkles more, which can be a good or bad thing depending on personal preference. I found the comfort to be better on the Monitor 60s. Build quality was equal. I think buying these over the M50X would be a solid choice. Compared to the HD 650 and Ananda, there were significant differences in every single category. I'd say you get about maybe 60% of the HD 650 and about 40% of the Ananda, but you can get these for significantly less, so there is bargain there. And I might be off on some of those percentages, and that really depends on like use case for those. That's a different conversation, which is why we're not going into it. Moving on to the conclusion, I am quite impressed with these. I enjoy OneOdio as a brand, as I think the price to performance that you get with them is excellent. Finding a pair of headphones that sounds this good for around this price point will be hard. They are very comfortable. With them being closed back, you get good noise isolation, allowing you to easier focus on what you were working on and lose yourself to it. Build quality is solid, but with these arms being so loose, feel a bit cheap, which I don't like. It comes with all the cords you would need for multiple use cases. The ability to share audio is great, but somewhat limited. The extremely neutral sound is extremely well done, making these viable for just about everything. They are definitely ideal for mixing, but also perform well for both single player and multiplayer gaming, media consumption, and music. But due to that neutral sound, you won't be getting any coloring, which some people will prefer. In the end, it is an easy recommendation for me, especially if you're looking for a neutral headphones. I think most people who are just looking for good headphones just in general for anything, these should be on your list to look up or try. And if I didn't own significantly more expensive headphones, I'd be very, very happy with these. Regardless, I'm very happy with these. That's the end of this review, so I will see you and your beautiful face on the next one. God bless and peace out.